everyone, welcome back. There should be B-roll. I don't know if there is going to be because I haven't filmed any yet, so hopefully there is a B-roll segment there. But today we are headed to the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco on this gloriously rainy day. It's gloomy as all get out, but that's fine. We're going to make the best of it. I'm going to do a little bit of a history on the museum, some information, some fun facts and stuff later on, but that's where we're headed today. I have my friend Sammy with me. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time, so I will see you all there. Some information about the museum, about the Presidio, I think is how you say it, before we get there, just so you guys kind of have some background information on where we're going. So we'll start off with the Presidio. That is the area in which the museum is located. It was first established actually in 1776 by the Spanish when Spain controlled California and I think up until Oregon in the New Spain colony. They used it as an army base, and then in I believe it was 1860s-ish, don't quote me on that, actually before that, Mexico, when they expanded, they took over California, and that was their new land, so Spain no longer controlled the base, and it was now Mexican control. And then in 1846, the United States during the Mexican-American Wars took control of the base, and from that time until 1994, it was a U.S. Army base, and was one of the largest bases on the Pacific, and oversaw the protection of the Bay and all of the Bay Area. The building in which the museum sits now was once Barracks 107 and was a gymnasium and all sorts of different things, and was built in 1897, so not too long after the United States took control of the base. And that is the kind of the brick buildings you'll see all along the main parade grounds now, were those brick buildings. There isn't much information about the building renovation until 1908, when it was repurposed and renamed 122 Riley, and was converted into a gymnasium, post office, and kind of just like an entertainment area for officers and troops and things like that. Then there's kind of a lost history until the early 1920s, 1940s, when it was again repurposed. Was still a gymnasium, but it also had a reading, writing room, a library, and a bunch of other stuff inside of it, game room, billiard hall, all that sort of stuff. And it was left untouched until 1994, when the U.S. Army gave up control, well, not gave up control, but retired the base and handed over to the National Park Service. And in 1996, the Presidio was officially a part of the National Parks system. So in 2000, or in the early 2000s, Diane Disney Miller came along, which is Walt Disney's daughter, and she decided that would be a perfect place to host a museum for her father. The building wouldn't have been rebuilt if it wasn't for her. She was a huge part of the reason for a lot of what happened with Walt and the projects that he had. She was a part of his 20-year quest to get the film rights for P.L. Travers' story Mary Poppins. Her and her sister were also a leading force behind Walt's building Disneyland and a lot of the other projects that he created. She was the founder of the Walt Disney Family Foundation in 2007, which helped fund films like Walt Disney, The Man Behind the Myth, and also the Walt Disney Family Museum. also was a part of the construction of the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, and a bunch of other projects along with her and her husband Roy Miller. She passed away in 2013, but she was able to see the completion of the museum, which was October 1st, 2009. And that's a little bit about Diane, who was the founder of the museum, of the foundation, which built the museum, and a lot of other projects. So the reason that she wanted to build the museum was that in 1993, a man by the name of Mark Elliott wrote a biography about Walt titled Walt Disney, the Dark Prince of Hollywood. And you can probably tell by the title of the book that it wasn't a shining, report on Walt and his life. So Diane and her mother made it a mission to kind of reclaim the... Oh my god, it's so loud. Hold on. Ah, it's so loud. Okay. So Diane and her mother made it a mission to reclaim that positive public appearance that Walt had, and to let the world know who the man was behind everything that we now know and love with attached to the Disney name, and that he was more than just his corporate logo and corporate persona. So the museum was part of that mission, and in 2009 it was completed at the cost of $110 million, which calculated for inflation today would be about $130 million, so around about the same price. The building covers 40,000 square feet, has 10 constant galleries, rotating exhibitions, 400 rare and never before seen artifacts, including 26 of Walt's Oscars, his personal Oscars, including his custom-made one with the larger Oscar with 7 preceding ones after that to commemorate his first feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in the, I believe it was the late 20s, early 30s. I have a terrible memory of dates sometimes. So that's kind of the numbers behind it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else interesting about it. That's pretty much like the highlights that I found out about the history of the museum. I'm sure I'll remember more when we're there. So yeah, that's just some background, some highlights and things like that about the history of the Presidio, where the museum sits, the museum itself, and its founder. So see you all when we get to the museum.
The nation is on the right.
What's going on, everyone? Matt here. So I didn't do much vlogging within the museum itself. Still not too comfortable with filming in public and things like that. So kind of just got some B-roll shots and some footage of within the museum. What we're looking at here is Walt's personal Academy Awards that he received. The bigger one there is his first Academy Award for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, also his first feature-length film. So that's kind of cool to see. The 7 little miniatures there representing the dwarfs, and the big one for Snow White. And this is some of the furniture that sat within his firehouse apartment in Disneyland, or right above the firehouse, I should say. It wasn't in the firehouse. Now this is the first room of the museum, and it kind of just highlights Walt's early life in Marceline after moving from Chicago with his family, and just kind of his life from boyhood up to adolescence, talking about his time in the war, and all sorts of different things, his brother Roy, and eventually how he got inspired to join the military. Now, if you look close down there, you could see that there were some miniatures, and I'll have a close-up of it right here. So there were some small miniature trains that ran along, which are kind of cool to see for Walt's love of miniature and trains. Now this is very similar to one of the trucks that Walt would have driven during his time in France as a medic. he did serve and faked his age to get in. And these are one of the early cameras that he used for animation at his house, just doing some fun stuff with it. And these are some books and papers to kind of get that idea of real human movement. Now, when you move up to the second level through a very cool elevator that I did not film, you'll see that you move into Hollywood land, and Walt's move from Kansas City to Los Angeles. And this first room really highlights Walt's creation of the Alice comics and all the different comics or different girls that he used for Alice. And this is a series of letters that he wrote to Virginia Davis, who was one of the Alice girls to play Alice. I thought this was really cool to see these original documents and everything. And these are two of the early cameras that Walt actually used for his filming, animation, and both stills during the Alice comics and things like that. I believe the one on the left he bought used. It was a very well-known and popular camera within the industry at the time. Here is a frame-by-frame depiction of Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse's first appearance to the public, and it was just super cool to see each frame and how they animated it and how many frames it took to make one cartoon. And again, these are more photos and things like that of the family, his daughters, his wife, his parents. Family was very important to Walt, and just making them happy, of course, and giving them the best life possible. And it was just really cool to see these photos throughout the museum, so you never forgot, you know, it was always about Walt. And then moving on, this is well, it's actually the same room. On the far wall there, you can see there's a huge display for Mickey Mouse. This is an original, or one of the earlier drawings of Oswald the Rabbit. And these are drawings from Playing Crazy. The first drawings of Mickey and Minnie here, which I think was my favorite thing to see in the museum. This was definitely the Mortimer stage, I guess you could say, before Lily told him to call him Mickey. And throughout the entire museum, there's just a lot of original art, original sketches, paintings, and that was my favorite part, I think, was just seeing these original drawings and artwork and things. It was just really, really cool to see all that stuff. Now, these are the paints that they would use to actually use to color the film in Technicolor, and here is a video of how they did that. And that's what I like about this museum a lot. It was really interactive, a lot of different mediums to get you to learn. So if you're more of a visual learner, then they have these great videos like this one. But if you want to read stuff, that's an option, or if you just, you know, like a little bit of both. And then on display there are scale sizes of a lot of the characters. And again, here you can see, this is what I'm talking about with the interactiveness. You can spin that wheel there and animate a whole scene as fast or slow as you want and go backwards. It's really cool. And this is more of that original art and things like that. I really, really enjoyed that part of it. It was just super cool to see that, and again, a scale model of Pinocchio, you know, for the artist reference and all that stuff, and it was just super great. Now coming up, I don't have much footage of it, but the multi-plane camera, super cool camera. I wish I had more footage of it. I'll talk about it more in a next video because I don't have enough on it. They go into Walt's time helping with the war effort, and then this is the room after that. I'm just gonna kind of do like a quick wrap up, I guess, because a lot of this is just different footage throughout. But I really enjoyed the museum. A lot of great original art, a lot of great things just to inspire, really. I mean, it was a really, really inspiring, cool museum to be at. And if you're a Disney fan, it's great. If you're a fan of Walt, it's amazing. Just offers a lot of really, really, really cool stuff, like this here, which is the Lily Bell Walt's train that he had in his backyard at his massive house in Los Angeles. They have a model of the house right now, and it's huge. I was obsessed with this castle for some reason, and it was pretty cool. It was really high detailed. I didn't think it'd be that detailed, but there's a lot of detail in that little tiny castle there. And coming up, we have the model of Walt's idea of what Disneyland could have or should have been. These are based off drawings and sketches and just, you know, things collected that people had seen that Walt was a part of. So there are rides and attractions that weren't actually built and lands that weren't even conceived when Walt was alive. So these are things, this represents no Disneyland at opening day or any time after that. This is just from the imagination of Walt. It's kind of cool. You can see a lot of interesting details. The Pirates of the Caribbean characters there. It transitions from day to night, so you can see the Space Mountain with the exterior roller coaster there. That's going to end it for the video. Well, at least the walking tour portion, and have a little commentary off this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
I will say the museum was amazing as I expected. It was so good. I recommend going there. One thing that I loved about it is that it truly stuck to its name of the Walt Disney Family Museum. It wasn't about Disneyland in any way. In fact, they didn't even mention Disneyland or like any of like the attractions or like theme parks or anything until the very end of the museum. Pretty much the whole like first 2/3 of the museum is just dedicated to Walt, his animation style, you know, the technological advancements he made with his company, and that's what I love so much. And that was one of the points that I wanted to talk about earlier that I totally forgot to mention, is that the museum was dedicated to Walt, and I think that it did that really good job of that. You could hear his voice throughout the entire museum. There was a lot of interactive things that you could do. You know, there were like headphones and microphones and things you could like pick up and listen to and like hear him talk about certain things, or hear some of his Imagineers talk about things, or artists, or, you know, anyone a part of the staff. You know, they had little recordings and things like that, accompanied with their positions and roles in certain films or whatever projects they were working on. So it was really cool. It went through a lot of things. There were things that I didn't even know were going to be there that were super, super cool to see. The model scale of Walt's like image of what Disneyland should be was super cool. I think the best thing on that was that Space Mountain, that the roller coaster actually went outside of the building and then like spiraled up to the top and then like went backwards from there. I thought that was super cool, and if that was a reality, that would be amazing. But yeah, it was a really, really awesome video. It's a really awesome museum. I would definitely recommend going if you're a fan, if you live in the area of San Francisco Bay Area, California. I would highly recommend it.